You hear this, Aries? Oh well, it's you don't hear it now. So I wanted to have a little ambiance say today. So I got back on Cafe Music BGM channel. This is Friday morning jazz, relaxed bossa nova jazz, and positive morning music. And I was gonna roll the dice to see what I did, but something about this said Aries to me. I don't know why, but. And then I had a brief internal struggle of, whether I just go ahead and do Aries or if I would roll the dice anyway. And I was like, we'll just do Aries. Why not? So, I'm still trying to decide what deck I want to use. I'll do the vice versa. Okay, so today I'm just like decisive. Alright, Aries. I don't know if this is your energy. I don't know if it's like an energy that you're coming into. And I feel like for some reason it's important to say decisive, not impulsive. And maybe you've been called impulsive and you view yourself as impulsive. But maybe in the entire light, it's just like you're someone who can reach a decision and can act upon it. And you don't need a lot of time to deliberate and to think about sort of, I don't want to say not to think about consequences. Maybe you can be a little short-sighted at times. Maybe. Not necessarily. But it's like, you don't need a lot of convincing to do what you already know is for you to do. And I like that. I admire that. I appreciate that. I could use a little bit of more of that in my life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my favorite virtual assistant to choose a random number between 1 and 499. And then that will be, I'll pull majors around those cards and we'll see what comes out. The 10 of Pentacles is at the top. And this is the side with man's best friend. Ooh, the Tower is behind it. I feel like I like this Tower, though. And the Wheel of Fortune is behind the Tower. Okay. So 10, 16, 10. Which should be an 8, right? 28. No. Girl, 26. 26, 8. Can you see that? So it looks like that tower, it's the Eye of God. And the tower is intact. The olive branch and the dove is there. So it feels like only what needs to be removed is being removed. And what's left is going to be... Alright, this is a little loud. It's hard to think. It feels like what's left, it's going to be that which has sort of loyalty to you. This is also, looks like Venus and Virgo. It might be Mercury, I can't really tell. But it's on his cloak. So there is also something about... Oh my gosh, I know who this is. I don't think she'll see this. But anyway, there's something about like you displaying. So maybe you're coming into a time of greater authenticity. And in that there are going to be some people that you lose. And it's like, well, you're losing those people because for this space, they wouldn't have been here, right? This is the side of the card where we don't see people. And I don't think it's necessarily important. It is interesting that the dog is here and that there's no one else. So it does almost speak to this energy. It's almost like there's a heavenly host or spirit guardians or guides that you have that are on your back, that have your back in a way that maybe certain people around you don't understand. or didn't understand. I don't know. That's just a little pre-shuffle. Hashtag little pre-shuffle things. I'm going to turn Siri up so you can hear him. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 499.
A random number between 1 and 499 is 13.
Wow, 13. I've never got a double-digit number before. 13 is the Wheel of Fortune and the Empress. So, give me one moment to open up WordPad so I can write down what number y'all got. Aries, so I don't forget. 13. And my intention is to also like make a thumbnail, you know? So if I do, you'll see it. If I don't, then I'm letting you know my intention right now, so you know whether or not I did it, I guess. I'm going to turn the brightness down a little. Oh, wait, actually. Let's see. There you go. Now you can see these cards. Oh, well, here's the Wheel of Fortune. So you have the Tower, the Wheel of Fortune, and the King of Wands. I don't often see this side of the King of Wands. I don't often see the King of Wands at all, honestly. Let alone, like, this side. And then I'm also looking for the Empress. And right off the bat, as I'm thinking about this, with the decisiveness, with the Tower behind that 10 of Wands energy, with this being the Wheel of Fortune and the Empress, you might be coming into a more, I want to say a more powerful cycle, but it's like, oh, the Hermit, the Empress, and the back of the Queen of Swords. So we have the Two of Pentacles, the Four of Wands, and the Page of Cups, the back of the Page of Cups, sitting at the bottom of these three. And that's the Four of Wands with the Gallarhorn. So maybe there's some old, the drink of the old whatevers. And also the Two of Pentacles is here. It does feel a little bit like there's some unnecessary balancing and juggling because he's not on a tightrope, so he could put his other foot down and make this easier. But at the same time, this really wants to show itself. The Six of Swords. Six of Swords, Two of Pentacles, Four of Wands, Page of Cups. There's Magician energy here. Swords, Pentacles, Wands, Cups. Every element is present. Let's see if I can't. There we go. Every element is present here. One cup, four wands, two pentacles, and six swords. So they may not necessarily be balanced. And then that, I would say... Actually, I wouldn't. I would say there may be a need for temperance since all of the elements are here. But with temperance, you don't necessarily get everything in a 1-to-1 ratio. It depends on what you're making. For example, if you're making water, then you need 2 hydrogens for every oxygen that you get. So it doesn't necessarily serve you to have 1 hydrogen and 1 oxygen unless you wanted to make something basic and you get hydroxide. There we go. It's gonna be a little, hold on, let me see if, there we go. Ooh, I like that. So there's this energy of like you sort of coming into your own, maybe you having healthier boundaries, you coming into the fullness of who you are. occupying space and having a voice really coming into this Empress energy. And there may be some people in your life or some circumstances in your life that can't take it. But it's not necessarily for you to play small, right? So with this Queen of Swords here, we'll start around the Empress first. With the Queen of Swords and this Hermit energy, it feels like maybe there was a part of you that would people please, but you would leave yourself out. It's like you would ice yourself out of situations, which actually, in some way, some strange way, it served you. Because then it forced you to go inside to sort of find this spark and to find this fire that maybe you once had that you feel like you've lost. And when you went inside and you found that, I feel like there were a lot of other things that were also sort of highlighted and illuminated. It's like you took an internal journey, and on the way to get what you wanted or what you felt you needed, there were a lot of other things that you sort of had the opportunity to resolve. This is reminding me of Over the Garden Wall for some reason. And I don't know if you've ever seen Over the Garden Wall, and I don't want to spoil it, but essentially there's a character who makes sacrifices for someone that they love. And then you find out that they were misinformed. And that what they're sacrificing for, it actually goes to feed something that isn't what they necessarily want. And it's the very thing that keeps it trapped in that cycle. Let's do it like this. So the Page of Cups is going to be clarifying this Hermit. Four of Wands is going to be clarifying the Queen of Swords. Two of Pentacles, the Tower, and the Six of Swords, the King of Wands. I actually am going to read the Court cards, because I love how they drew the Court cards in this deck. So Queen of Swords, let me see if I can't read. Behind the throne, we see the essence of the Queen's inner strength. The great crystals clarify, illuminate, and affirm her spiritual connection as well as her intelligence and will. It is not enough for her to conquer. She also wants to understand. The crystals are the symbol of her ethical center. They are also the keepers of her memories. She will hold a grudge until amends are made, but she will remember a favor forever and pay that debt if the time comes. I feel like in that, it's interesting. So with the Queen of Swords, there was this energy a while ago of the Queen of Swords being who she needs to be because of certain circumstances, events, and happenings in her life, right? The Queen of Swords is easily read as cold, or more, oftentimes read as cold. And it's not that she's necessarily cold by nature. It's like she was nurtured to be cold, if that makes any sense. She became cold because of what happened to her. And in that, she created this Eight of Pentacles in the Wild Unknown Tarot. It's a spider web. She creates this web that keeps her in power. It keeps her empowered. But in that, she doesn't allow for things to change. Because the weight of the past is that heavy within her. And there's almost a little bit of a mining energy. There's almost this energy that there are some impurities in some of these crystals, and that they need to be removed. And that's what this Hermit energy is doing, right? Those were all the things while the Hermit is on his journey to find this Orphic egg that he sort of resolved, or you resolved and took care of. With the Page of Cups up here, it does feel like there is This is a thawing energy. You can kind of sort of see at the bottom, under the Page of Cups, is the King of Cups. You can see at the bottom like that little bit of ice or something down there. It feels like it's thawing something within you. And this is so interesting for Aries. The only way, I guess, and you take it as it resonates, it doesn't always have to make sense to me, but like how I would see this in the space of Aries, it's like there would be a lot of, I want to say, zest, and I can't even, the word isn't even coming to my brain, but it's like all of the things that ignite you, all of the things that make you who you are. And then it's like being conditioned to believe that you had to be something or someone else to be taken seriously in the world, to reach this throne, to ascend to this throne, only for you to end up in a space that you don't really like because it requires so much of you that is not you, or it requires you to mute yourself so much, or it required you to. And so then it's like you eventually reach a point one day where you have to ask yourself, like, how did things end up here? Like, maybe you have to be honest with yourself, and maybe you're not happy where you are, right? Everything over here is dark, or 4 out of 5 of these are dark. And so that's a lot of internal sort of stuff. And that's when you go in with the Hermit, and you find that the more you sort of excavate and recover those old parts of you, the more that you embody that more authentic self, where you may have feared not being accepted in the past, or maybe you thought that the only thing that would be left in your life was your dog, if you were to embody the fullness of who you are. But now with this Four of Wands, it's like you're finding a community of people who will celebrate you. And this, with this Empress energy, it's like, I want to say, like, that's you in your essence, or that's you in your greatest sort of energy. And I'm going to do this, which is an XX, which is Judgment. It's that 20. And I think Judgment is sort of what you have to do. You have to ask yourself if it's worth it. Now moving over to the Tower with the Two of Pentacles, the Six of Swords, and the King of Wands. Yeah, I think you're going to decide that it's like you're juggling things that you don't necessarily have to. And you can do it. It's not that you can't, but I feel like in some way it leaves you unfulfilled. And I think the Tower with this Two of Pentacles, it's like, I don't think it's going to get this person to drop the Two of Pentacles, but it's going to shake this person up enough that they put their other foot down on the ground. Right? Because as soon as the earth like starts to shake, they're going to, whoa, and then you're going to put the other foot down to catch their balance. I see a 6 here, and we have a 6 of Swords here. Since the title card is here, I'm not going to look and see. The title card is my Live Life and Find Out, or STFU, or, Beware, Don't Proceed Any Further card. This also might have been something that happened to you, Aries, that puts you in this position. Because maybe you were doing it really, really well. Maybe you were doing it to the point where you found like a financial stability or something like that. But it wasn't fulfilling, or it's like there was some part of you that you traded for that. And maybe it would have been the case that you never would have broken free of your own volition. And so a Tower moment came in that gave you the opportunity to step away. And then maybe you were like, well, if this is going to happen anyway, then I might as well go ahead and do the things that I wanted to do. And it's interesting that you started off in such a decisive energy when it's like maybe in the past you were making choices and decisions that you believed were for your highest good, But that again, it's like it required something of you. A piece of that spark or that fire, and maybe the more you traded it away, the colder you got. And that's why things are thawing up here now. With the lantern of the hermit. With the hermit's lantern as opposed to like the sun. It's gonna take a little longer, but that too feels like it's part of your journey. Because it feels like while you were being someone else, there were things that you discovered. And now it's like, excuse me, you know that role and position because you've lived it. And it's almost like now you're going to be in a position where you can better manage your authenticity, if that makes sense. Where it's like you can be you but professional. Where you don't have to compromise everything, but you can still operate within the bounds of whatever you're trying to operate within. And then with the Wheel of Fortune turning over into the King of Wands and the Six of Swords, I love that because that it leads you to be outside and to hold just as much power as you did over here when you were hiding or withholding. So the King of Wands says, let me see if I can get it. A king sits upon a throne. Hold up, wait, I'm gonna switch my glasses. The light, even though like you can see, it's kind of low light for me and it's a little hard to read, so I'm gonna up the magnification to make it easier. A king sits upon a throne that is partly made of natural wood burls and partly of rough-hewn staves. The king holds aloft a plain wooden stave of the same sort. He is dressed in court garb, other than armored greaves. He is dressed in court garb. Let me hold this up so you can see it. That would be nice, right? I'll start over. A king sits upon a throne that is partly made of natural wood, burls, and partly of rough-hewn staves. The king holds aloft a plain wooden stave of the same sort. He is dressed in court garb, other than armored greaves on his legs. A spotted salamander, symbolic of fire, rests at his feet. Like the Knight of Wands, the King of Wands thrives on supporting righteous causes and giving his energy where it is needed. This is a person who gets things done. He's a man of action. Although he may have worldly wealth, you might not know it from looking at him or the way he lives. He doesn't have much patience with details that could slow down his process, so he lets others handle the small stuff and the aesthetics. Other kings may have fancy scepters or rods of authority. This king has a stick, and it does the job just fine. And for me, again, it's that energy of like the things that you don't have to put on, the things that you don't have to be, the ways in which you don't have to sacrifice yourself to get the job done. And it feels like something that you're going to understand because of this. Because you've held a similar position but in a different way. Right? It's almost like you move from the Queen of Ice to the King of Fire. And so there is this almost, Niflhammer energy. The mist that arises from the melting ice or the subliming ice or whatever. Is that sublimation? When something goes from a solid to a gas? Yeah, see, and then this tower is the spark. You can see it up there. That ignites you. It feels like this tower is you and your view of yourself. It feels like there were things that were sort of put in you, things that were instilled in you, things that, again, those are the things that you believe that you had to be, so it created these extra characters. In your persona, if you've ever seen Inside Out, it's like you get these, I don't want to say false emotions, because I don't know if a false emotion necessarily exists, but you get these characters that don't really have a seat at the console, and they start to warp everything outside of what we should naturally allow, right? Because in the movie, it's about allowing sadness its place. And it's about complex emotion. You can be both saddened and overjoyed by the same thing. And it feels like maybe that's also a bit of your temperamentality, right? Because it's like all of the elements are present here, but in varying amounts. And I mean, you got you got court cards and majors that came out. So, but again, it reminds me of what I initially thought about temperance, right? My original sort of note would have been, oh, Aries, it looks like you need temperance because all of these elements are like all over the place. 1, 4, 2, 6. But depending on what you're making, it could be the perfect combination. And it feels like it is for you. It feels like with this Two of Pentacles, it's like you're trying to equalize everything. Or you're trying to overly emphasize what you feel you may be lacking to make up for whatever you were convinced you had to be. But it's like, just flow with it. With the Six of Swords, just allow yourself to be who you are. In that, you'll find a lot more joy. You won't feel like you're freezing over because of everything that... It's like, it feels like an energy of obligation. And then it's like, again, I don't think this Two of Pentacles is going to stop juggling these two or going to stop balancing these two. But it doesn't need to do it on one foot. It can, yeah. And is life more challenging that way? Sure. And in that challenge, do you feel even more accomplished? Maybe. But again, it's a question of like, what is worth sacrificing? That's what I got for you, Aries. It feels like I'm leaving it off on kind of a vague note, but at the same time, this felt like with the Hermit card, especially, it feels like something that you discover the more you go. So just be brave and courageous and be that decisive force of nature that you are. And don't be so caught up in what life demands for you to be. Now, it is for you to be responsible, right? And I think that's what you sort of retain. But I think at the same time that you're venturing forward, it's going to be important for you to recognize the growth that you've made, especially if it comes at a more immediate hit to like the finances, or if you lose a few friends or people who you thought were friends. But it's like, if someone is truly your friend, then they should want for you to be genuinely, purely, authentically you, because that would make you happy, right? A friend shouldn't be someone who demands that you pretend to be someone that you're not. Because then it's like, they're not really your friend, they're the friend of this version of yourself that you've been that lacks a lot of color. Your color. Yeah, it's like you're really good at being balanced on the outside. Maybe you navigate it in a way where people don't even know that your internal state is what it is. But then at the end of it, bright skies king instead of dark skies queen, and all of this internal stuff back here. And again, it's like there's something that you find inside that it's like it shines on the outside. So maybe you're in the process of starting, or maybe it's like you can recall like when you were closer to starting, how there would be people maybe in your life who are like, you look really happy, you look radiant, you're glowing, like, what's going on, what are you doing? And you're like, really? Because like, externally maybe my life, it was a lot neater back then. But you're coming out of it, or you've come out of it. I don't know why I really want to read this all as the past. I really want to read this all as something that you already know and something that you've already been doing. But whenever the cards come out like this, to me it's like, well, that's the state that the person is in. I don't know why sometimes, and I'll be so convinced that like you're already over this, like you already know this, you're already moving forward, you're already through with this phase. But then if I'm live, the person will tell me like, no, like I'm still actively going through this. And I'm like, what? Because I just feel like you're over it. I just feel like you know this. So maybe it is just time to make the decision. And it's not that you're indecisive, Aries. It just feels like the choices and decisions you were making, you were doing so for, maybe you have obligations. Ooh, that was the death card that just flipped over. And so that side of the death card that it flipped over to, it's almost this question of like what you're willing to sacrifice to be alive again. There's something that you learn while you're in the underworld, something that you gain, and I just saw the world again, that you offer to the horse or to the energy of death when you are reborn. So it's not necessarily something that is for you to learn now in this lifetime. There's the world again. I keep seeing it. Chapters closing, and it's the front of the world too. It feels like something that you've learned while you were down there, something that you now recognize, and I'm going to stop there. Something that you now recognize as not serving you, or you were paying a price that was far too high, that your internal peace and sanity is worth more than a few extra dollars or whatever, right? Status, a certain job title or position. The cards that came out, it's the Eight of Cups and the Two of Wands. It feels like your inner child has been wishing for like joy. And simultaneously, you've been maybe feeling a little unfulfilled or a little void in some areas. And your wish is being granted in this new opportunity moving forward. Or if you're in a space of like questioning, right? Like let's say that you did this a while ago, but now you find yourself maybe under a little bit of a financial pressure and you're like, it was easier when I did this. And it's for you to remember like how you felt while you were there. And this Two of Wands, it feels like something completely brand new. Which again, kind of sort of, or maybe not again, but it feels like maybe you felt that you had to start all over and you did something completely new, but we never really do anything. It's not that we don't do anything new. It's this, like, even if we're doing something completely different, we still have the basis of experiences that we've accumulated in our lifetimes up until that point. Right? And again, there was this energy of like, while you were there, there was something that you gained. There's some knowledge or some information or something that you know that will and can and will still serve you. You may just not interact with it the way you did before. And there's a little bit, for the first time I'm seeing this as like a woman. I don't know if I hold this closer if you'll be able to see it. And you may be like, what? But it's very much like a woman who sort of disguises herself as a man to be accepted in certain spaces, right? That old Mulan, Joan of Arc, and others energy. I think there was a woman who disguised herself as a man to like go to school or something like that too. I don't remember any of her name. I don't remember. But there's this energy here where maybe you've already found yourself in that space. And there's something that it's like you have to come out as a woman and not a man. Or maybe there's an energy within you that has to come out as feminine instead of masculine. Maybe there's something that you've always attributed to a masculine aspect of yourself when in its higher potentiality it's actually feminine. And when you use it in a feminine way, then it takes you even further than when you try to use it in a masculine way, or when you were using it in a masculine way, or vice versa, right? I don't know why, but it feels like this could also be someone who has seen your journey and your growth, and they may come to you asking you questions that will put you in a space of like appreciating again how far you've come, that will remind you of everything that you've done. And maybe you'll be there to help guide them along their way as well. I don't know, Aries. I hope this helps in some way if you need it. I will catch you the next time I catch you. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality, and I hope that you have a good whatever whenever you see this. And, yeah, next time, right?